Thank you all for answering the poll question. And the poll question was, what is your area of focus? Elementary, kindergarten through fifth grade, and middle, sixth through eighth, or middle, sixth through eighth, and high school? So we have 74% of you said you're going to focus on elementary and middle, and 60% middle and high school. Thank you for participating. Now I turn it over to Michelle Nimmons.
Good morning and welcome to the South Carolina After School Alliance webinar, Providing Opportunities for Lifelong Learning Grants informational webinar. I'm Michelle Nimmons, Director of Grants and Contracts at the South Carolina After School Alliance. I would like to thank our speakers for joining us this morning. Zelda Waymer, President and CEO of the South Carolina After School Alliance, Dr. David Mathis, Deputy Superintendent of College and Career Readiness at the South Carolina Department of Education, Eden Hendrick, Acting Director of the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice, Dr. Terry Peterson, South Carolina After School Alliance and National After School Alliance Board of Directors, and Sam Johnson, Chair of the South Carolina After School Alliance Board of Directors. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping notes to share. Today's session is being recorded and will be posted on our website for viewing later, no later than December 17th, which is this Friday. If you have questions, please use the chat feature to post questions and comments. Your questions will be saved, and if not answered during the webinar, they will be answered and placed on our website in the FAQ section, Frequently Asked Questions. We have allotted 90 minutes for today's webinar. If we finish the presentations early, there may be time for us to answer a few of your questions. Please keep in mind that we will answer questions about the intent of the grant question or component, but not specifics of how you should answer the question. At this time, we will hear from Dr. David Mathis from the Department of Education.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Zelda, for inviting me to be a part of this webinar. And my goal is simply to welcome everyone and give a greeting and a little bit of purpose of our mission here at the department and our partnership with the South Carolina After School Alliance. You know, our students in South Carolina have been really impacted by the pandemic since March 2020. It's been a long road for the past couple of the last couple of years. I'd like to share my screen, Zelda, but I think it says I can't share it. So. But at any rate, we want to, you know, it's been a long road for our students the past couple of years. And the reason for that, of course, is we know their lives have been affected at school, their lives have been impacted at home, and all of that has created somewhat of an opportunity for us now to come in and see how we can best help these children, students, and their families. Oftentimes we talk about a learning loss in education because of the pandemic, and I've pivoted away from using those words because we really haven't lost learning. We lost instructional time. It's unfinished learning. We need the time to go back, help our students catch up, especially in the areas of literacy and math, but all cognitive areas and all of our content areas as well. Schools are working hard to accomplish that during the day, but I think when we all work together and when we all put our hands together for our students, we're going to see great things happen, and we're going to see the completion of that unfinished learning. That's why Molly Spearman, our state superintendent, was adamant that we partner with the South Carolina After School Alliance as a partner in helping us with that unfinished learning. Because we need the time during school, but we also need that time outside of school to address those cognitive needs, but also those needs that students have in adjusting emotionally to a very difficult time in their lives. And so we're excited about this partnership and the opportunity that the South Carolina After School Alliance is going to offer grants to grow after school programs, because those are places where students are safe, they feel safe, they can be nurtured, and they can be also assisted with their academics. So we see it as a win-win for our students. And I just appreciate your interest and your partnership in helping the department how we can help our students grow and learn and finish this unfinished learning and get back to speed where we were. We don't know what the days ahead and what the pandemic is going to lead in the next few months, but we do know that this has been a very difficult year, which we thought was going to be back to a normal year, and that didn't happen. So whatever support we can offer our students and their families in a safe place, we want to provide that. And what a great partnership with Zelda and the After School Alliance to lead those efforts. So just a word of thanks for your willingness to come alongside of all of us and help our students in South Carolina. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mathis, for sharing the vision of the Department of Education. And now we'll hear from Acting Director Eden Hendricks of the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice. If you're just joining us, let me direct you to the chat feature to sign in, tell us your name and what organizations you're with.
Michelle, I'm going to move forward. Want to thank Dr. Mathis for shedding the light and vision of the expectations of these funds. And we appreciate the confidence the Department of Education has in the after-school field. So thank you very much. The South Carolina After School Alliance is a proud partner with Governor Henry McMaster, South Carolina Department of Education, and the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice to administer up to $14 million over 3 years to support after-school and summer learning in South Carolina. Funding for providing opportunities lifelong learning grants program has been made available through the CARES Act for the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund and the American Rescue Plan Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief, signed into law by President Biden in March of 2021. This funding opportunity is designed to aid South Carolina in providing high-quality, evidence-based, comprehensive after-school and summer learning programs to meet a wide range of needs arising from the coronavirus pandemic. The purpose of the Providing Opportunities for Lifelong Learning grants program is to fund new and existing evidence-based comprehensive after-school and summer learning programs that provide the children and youth with opportunities to learn and succeed, expand access to serve more youth with an emphasis on students and communities most impacted by the pandemic, reduce barriers such as transportation and enrollment costs to ensure access for all, and increase programmatic quality and expand and enhance supports and services offered. Successful applicants have the capabilities to implement a well-designed, well-delivered, evidence-based after-school and summer program And Dr. Terry Peterson will elaborate on the elements of an evidence-based comprehensive program later on in the agenda. Offer equitable, expanded opportunities and implement activities and interventions that respond to students' academic, social, and emotional needs and address the disproportionate impact of COVID-19. The grant cycle for this funding. So year one starts in January 2020, and it goes through August 30th, 2022. And the reason we have it going through August 30th, 2022 is to give you an opportunity to gather data and provide information. So that's going to be a short month for actually programming. And then so it covers spring 2022, starting on January 3rd through May 30th, 2022. You could apply up to $50,000 if you're just going to implement during the spring. Summer will start January 1 and go through August 30th. You could apply again up to $50,000. And if you're implementing during the spring and summer, you can apply for up to $100,000. Successful grantees will participate in year 2 and year 3. And these dates are subject to change. So this is just giving you an idea of the time frame. September to August 2023, September 1 through August 30th, 2024. Special considerations: projects may start no earlier than January 3rd, 2022, and payments may be on a reimbursable basis. And that is, we're still in discussion in regards to that. Grantees will be required to submit invoices and evidence of purchases and services. So who is eligible to apply? Community-based organizations and groups, faith-based organizations, sites located in communities with no current programs receiving government funds through 21st Century Community Learning Centers, parks and recreation centers, nonprofits. And organizations may submit more than one application, however, one application per site. And priority will be given to programs offering in-person programming 4 days or more a week. Key dates. So Friday, December 17th, we will have the webinar posted on the website. I'm going to just show the website quickly. This is where you can find a lot of the information that we're talking about today. You will also find the webinar here. But we go on, what do you need to know to, if you're ready to apply, the portal is here. If you need more guidance, information in regards to research, if you have questions, want to listen to the or review the applicant workshop recording, again, that is here. We have the dates that I'm discussing now. The important dates is located on the website. Resources. We have research information through the South Carolina Department of Education, and then statewide data. And if you have any questions regarding the application, if you find that we're not quite answering your questions through the website, please don't hesitate to contact Michelle Nimmons. and we will provide her information throughout this presentation. Priority populations for this funding. Students with disabilities, including physical, developmental, and/or intellectual disabilities, special healthcare needs, English language learners, youth eligible for free and reduced lunch, youth experiencing homelessness or housing instability, youth in foster care, migrant youth, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and kindergarten through fifth grade. I'm sorry, kindergarten through fifth grade, 6th through 8th, which is middle, and 9th through 12th, which is high school. Thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle.
Okay, let me again remind you to use the website for resources and to access frequently asked questions. Post your questions in the chat feature, and we will try to answer them at a later point in the webinar today. I'm going to cover the grant application. I'm going to start with supported program components. One of the very important elements of the grant initiative is what key components will your program address to equitably support students most in need of recovery. One component is an automatic consideration. Learning acceleration is required of everyone because research has shown that strategically it prepares students for success in the present. It addresses past concepts and skills in context with future learning. It jumpstarts underperforming students into learning new concepts before their classmates even begin. It isn't solely focused on remediation, but uses current concepts to bring students along. It creates opportunities for struggling students to learn alongside their more successful peers, and establishes and maintains strong intentional links to the school day. Another component, well-being and connectedness, which includes mental health support and team building. As Dr. Mathis mentioned in his welcome, he talked about how disconnected COVID-19 has presented itself for our students and our youth. When schools went on virtual, they often struggled with feeling connected. So in this initiative, you have an opportunity to address the connectedness piece, as well as social emotional learning, which encompasses 5 core areas: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making. Enrichment activities also are a part of this initiative and include arts and crafts, career and job exploration, and youth entrepreneurship. This isn't an exhaustive list, but in the application on question 14, you'll see a more inclusive list. As you start to prepare your application, we strongly suggest that you download and print the PDF application, because when you're using our link for the online application, it doesn't allow you to save your information, and it doesn't allow you to go back to a previous question. So please think of it as preparing your application on paper before you decide to use the online portal. In the program design and implementation section, be sure to address how your costs will be covered, decide if you're providing transportation. If not, explain why. Make a decision about whether you're offering meals and explain. Decide how many staff members you're going to need based on the number of students you're going to serve, and if you will need to hire new staff. Also, be sure to address how you will sustain your programs after this funding ends. In the budget section, be sure that you have identified how much money your program is going to need to operate and what you're asking for. Make sure that you've entered all the numbers in each of the budget categories. Did you check question 48, confirming that you have looked at the budget and these are the numbers that you're presenting to us and they're correct? In the budget narrative, make sure that you describe each of the budget expenditures in very detailed manner. In the assurance section, make sure you have checked questions 50 to 53, very important piece of the application. We need to talk about allowable expenses also. These funds can be used to provide support for reduction in participation costs for families, expansion of existing programs, establishing new programs, salaries and benefits for the staff, professional learning opportunities for staff, approved field trips for participants, transportation for participants, food, program equipment and technology, and enrichment activities. But these funds cannot be used for pre-award expenses, anything that you do before that January 3rd date that Ms. Waymer mentioned in her presentation, field trips that are non-educational, unapproved field trips, advertisements, promotion or marketing items, decorative items, purchase of facilities and vehicles, capital improvements and permanent renovations, dues to organizations, federations, or societies for personal benefits. When you look at getting started, decide what program focus you're going to address. If you're focusing on elementary and middle school, then you're checking the American Rescue Plan funding focus. If you're focusing on middle school and high school, then you're going to check the GEAR funding focus. Again, as you start to prepare your application in the contact and organizational information, make sure that you're providing information about who the primary contact is and how we reach them, phone numbers and emails, your organization's legal name, your annual budget, when your organization was founded, who the CEO is, or the highest ranking staff person, or your board chair. And tell us what type of organization you are. Also, remember to include the title of your program, your target population, and the population you're serving. Students with disabilities, youth in foster care, English language learners, homeless youth, migrant youth, Black, Indigenous people of color, and youth who qualify for free or reduced price lunch. Make sure to prepare a brief statement that describes why you've chosen to serve this population. It's very important that you identify the school districts of the youth that you will serve in your program. Identify the key components, as we've spoken to you about earlier. Learning acceleration is required. Include enrichment activities, address wellness and connectedness, and youth at risk behaviors. Make sure you've stated how your program will help address the needs of students at risk for educational failure. In the program and design section, are your evidence, programs, goals, objectives, and outcomes measurable? You'll find resources on the website that will help you address those questions. Have you described how your staff will collaborate with local schools to ensure student success? How are you going to help students recover learning loss and accelerated learning? Have you chosen which grant cycle you're applying for? Remember, you can choose spring or summer, or you can apply for spring and summer. Check the number of days of week and the start times for your programming. Remember, we strongly suggest that you operate 4 or more days a week. Did you list your partners and their contributions? Let me direct you again to the web page for the grant application process. Go to the application link on the grants page located at the South Carolina afterschool.com/ARP-grants/. Again, the recording of this webinar session will be posted at that website by Friday, December 17th. Visit the page for frequently asked questions, and we will post them as questions come in. It should be updated and will be a great resource to you also. Reporting and what will be requested. As you begin to prepare your application, keep in mind the kinds of data that you will most likely be asked to report on. The number of youth you serve, the demographics of the youth you're serving, program daily attendance, number of days and hours of programming you're offering, your youth satisfaction and sense of belonging to your initiative. Grantee reports will be on a quarterly or annual basis, and that's to be determined. There's a February 2022 meeting that will offer some more guidance on these issues. The South Carolina After School Alliance is pursuing an expansive statewide outreach to engage application reviewers with a focus on recruiting strong representation of individuals with experience and connections to youth development. All reviewers will be asked to disclose conflicts of interest. Small groups of reviewers will read and independently score approximately 15 applications each. They will use the same scoring rubrics. They will report their scoring processes once they're finished to the South Carolina After School Alliance, and we will review the scoring from across the groups and make a final determination on funding. Reviewer scoring rubrics. Section 1 is contact an organization, and it has a scoring points value of 24 points. Section 2, program design, implementation, staff, sustainability, and partnerships, carries a value of 60 points. And then last, section 3, the budget, has a value of 16 points. So be mindful as you're writing and preparing your grant of the values assigned to the sections that reviewers will be using to score your application. Remember, use the grant webpage. It's a very valuable resource. I must say it looks very good. It's got a wealth of information for you. That should be your first point of contact. But if you have additional questions and they're not answered on the website, please contact me at mnimmons@scafterschool.com. I will respond to your emails within 24 hours. Next, we have Dr. Peterson, board member, who's going to share information about evidence-based programming.
Before Terry speaks, I want to first apologize to Director Hendrick. If we were in a building, we would say that she was lost in the crowd. So we apologize for not being able to hear Director Hendrick. but I am going to share her comments. So DJJ is very excited about this partnership and believe that such in front end community services are key to preventing our youth from entering the system. DJJ has a long history of commitment to providing after-school activities as intervention and prevention measures, and we are excited to continue this tradition with these funds. Thank you all, the presenters and attendees. And thank you, Director Hendrick. We appreciate your support and what you have always done through the teen after-school centers in preventing over 5,000 students from entering the juvenile justice system. So thank you. I don't know if Terry has joined us yet. And if not, I'm going to try and work through this. I'm sure I won't be able to do as good a job as Dr. Terry Peterson. So research and evidence-based. I'm going to share these slides and not read everything for you. So summer learning evidence is very important. And these findings were actually before COVID, so they are even more important now. A committee of the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine recently examined and found summertime experiences to be very important for children and youth. And there are 4 domains of well-being: academic learning, social and emotional development, physical and mental health, and safety. So high quality after school programs are proven to accelerate student achievement and development. Key areas: attendance, behavior, and coursework. More time spent in after-school activities during the elementary school years is linked to narrowing the gap in math achievement at grade 5. And you see the chart. The income differences in math achievement were eliminated for students who had consistent after-school activities across K through 5th grade. This was a longitudinal study by Dr. Deborah Van Dale. Designing new programs and improving existing programs should follow the components from research that link to student success. Active and hands-on learning experiences and discovery. Use team building skills and learn how to resolve differences. Encourage youth ownership, making learning relevant. Support mastery. Use practice to get good at something. Encourage learning new skills, exploring career and college options. This is how to make your programs evidence-based. Leverage summers and after school to connect more middle and high school students to career, workforce, and college options. Grow summer youth learn and earn programs and internships, increase youth apprenticeships and entrepreneurships, expand dual enrollment, early college courses, career and technical programs beyond the school day, sponsor college and workplace visits for students with free transportation, increase service learning options, expand extracurricular programs to reach more students, offer digital badges for developing essential skills. And please remember to use the grant page. Thank you. And now we're going to go into question and answer.
Kimberly, can you share questions? One question that I saw come in was, can school districts apply? No, school districts are not eligible for this funding cycle.
Okay, moving on. With organizations that have different program sites, but the same tax ID number, will they need to submit separate applications for each site or one application listing all sites?
Multiple organizations with multiple sites need to prepare and submit an application for each of their program sites.
Okay. I have one that just came in that's a good one. It reads, can you apply if you receive 21st century funds?
No, you're not eligible to apply for this funding if you are currently receiving 21st Century Learning Center funds.
And let me elaborate. If your 21st Century Community Learning Centers funds is supporting a specific project and you are interested in implementing a new project, these funds can support that new project, just as long as the 21st Century funds are not supporting it as well.
Okay, if you are submitting applications for more than one location, is there a funding limit, say to $50,000 available for submission for each location?
Yes. The funding is up to $50,000 per application submitted.
Okay. Can a church summer program focusing on academics apply?
A faith-based organization that's proposing to have an after-school or summer program is eligible to apply for the funding.
Okay. We serve kids in 1st through 12th grade at one location. Can we apply for funding for all age groups?
Zelda?
Yes, excuse me. Yes, you can. I would recommend that if you are focusing on, say, elementary and middle, that may be one area. If the high school students that you are targeting is a different project, that may be a different program, you may want to submit a application for that, but you can apply for all ages in one application.
Very good. The next question is, this is reimbursement.
At this
Is this-
particular,
I'm sorry.
read that again for me, I'm sorry.
Yes, the inquiry is regarding the type of, is this a reimbursement set up on a reimbursement basis?
In Ms. Waymer's presentation, she spoke to it being potentially a reimbursable grant. That has not been written in stone at this moment.
And we understand the situation that it may put a lot of after-school programs in. So we are in discussion with the Department of Juvenile Justice as well as the Department of Education to determine if we could possibly provide some upfront funds.
Okay, great.
So keep your fingers crossed.
I have a follow-up question to one of the attendees, She asked if the 21st Century funds are specific for grades 1 through 3, could they apply for grades 4 through 8?
Yes, they can apply. Again, as long as the 21st Century funds are not dedicated to the upper level grades that you are applying for.
Excellent. Is there a limit of grants that can be awarded?
So the number of grants that will be awarded will be determined by the amount of funding that is requested. However, it could be up to 60 applications that are approved to possibly 100 applications that will be approved.
Okay, this is a follow-up question regarding schools and district eligibility. For further clarification, I understand that school districts are not eligible to apply. How about public charter schools?
We are getting, excuse me, we're getting clarification on that. And let me just share the reason school-based programs do not qualify is because the American Rescue Plan provided funding to the school districts to offer after-school programming. And so we don't want to double dip, as well as making sure that the funds can cover a wide variety of areas of students and be able to support in areas that school districts and schools may not be able to reach. I will definitely follow up with the Department of Education because I am not sure if the charter schools received, I know they received some funding, not sure if they received the American Rescue Plan funds.
Okay, hello, Ms. Lawanda. We have a follow-up question here. If a entity has 7 centers that want to offer after-school programming, can she submit 7 applications and each application can be eligible for the $50,000? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Okey-dokey, let's see. As a follow-up to Mrs. Brown's question, if you're able to submit an application for all ages, would you target GEARS or ARP funds?
GEARS is specific to middle and high school students. So it may require you to submit 2 separate applications for programming for elementary as well, and then another one for programming for middle and high school.
Let me just add that you really need to think about your focus, because the focus of the GEARS funding is, keep in mind, it is to divert kids or prevent kids from entering the juvenile justice system, to prevent them from dropping out. So if you are focusing on, and that could be a variety of things. So if you're focused on how you can prevent kids from getting into trouble, and preventing them from entering the system, middle and high school students, then that's the focus for you. If you are really focusing to accelerate learning, to support social emotional learning development, then the ARP funds, it's for you. ARP, again, is elementary and middle. So the balance is the middle can be supported for both middle school students, that is.
Thank you. Okay, we have two questions regarding this particular issue. It says, do programs reapply for years 2 and 3?
Currently, there's no reapplication. It's successful implementation and governance during year 1 that will determine future funding for years 2 and 3 at this time.
And let me add, we may release a request for proposals depending on the availability of funding. So if programs that were not funded that first year may be able to apply for year 2 and 3. We haven't confirmed yet, but that is a possibility.
Okay, here's a question in regard to requirements. Are Dunn and Sam's numbers required to complete the application?
No, they are not.
Can any after-school center apply, or does the center have to be affiliated with DJJ?
No, the centers don't have to be solely affiliated with DJJ to apply. Any nonprofit faith-based organization is welcome to apply.
Okay. Is year 2 and 3 the same level of funding?
It could potentially be the same, but not necessarily. Funds available, implementation success, number of students served may be factors that are considered in how much is awarded going forward in years 2 and 3.
And apologies if this has already been addressed. What is the deadline for the application, and where can we get the application?
The deadline is December 30th, and the application can be found on the website, on South Carolina After Schools website in the grant page, located at www.scafterschool.com/ARP.grants.
Thank you, Michelle. We've had requests for you to put that in the chat. If you could make that possible for the attendees, that would be very helpful.
We'll do just right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Go back and address this one. Okay, that addresses his. Okay, any other? I think I've been capturing them. Oh, here's another one coming in. Okay, here's a question. If the full 50,000 is requested, will they approve some funds instead of just denying the full request? Might need a little bit more clarification on that, Miss Evans. Was that clear to you, Michelle? Zelda?
Yes, it was clear to me.
Okay, great.
And I'm going to defer to Zelda to that answer.
Thank you.
Sure. So one thing that we're encouraging the reviewers to do, and we will also review the applications as well, is that we want to make sure that if you are requesting 50,000, making sure that it is used in a used transparency way. I think that if you request 50,000 and you're serving 10 students, as one of, I think Kimberly may have mentioned that if you're serving 5 students, then those 5 students need to be geniuses by the time they finish with your program. So I think that to answer your question, yes, instead of we're just not going to deny because you are requesting an amount of money that we may feel that you may not need. But I will say this, we will not just assume that you don't need it. One thing that we will do, and we're obligated to, are committed to do this, is have follow-up questions with the organizations. If there are some questions or something in your application that we don't quite understand, we're just not going to assume, we're going to follow up with you. Because we want, one thing that we don't believe in, putting, traps or anything out there to trip you up. We want you to be successful. We support you. So even if there may be some challenges during your implementation, we will be there to help you overcome those challenges.
Great, thank you. Is there a certain length of time a center has to be established? For example, if they were just established last month?
We are committed to expanding existing programs and supporting new programs. So I would say, please apply for the funding.
I would also add that make sure you have evidence that it's needed. And we're going to circle back with Dr. Terry Peterson, and so he can share and take a deeper dive into what is expected with evidence-based programming. And then maybe we could come back, depending on time, can come back to some of the questions.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you. I heard part of the presentation. This is a very exciting opportunity for organizations across South Carolina. We've always, as everyone knows, had a lot of challenges and still do. And the COVID added a whole bunch of other challenges to our plate, but this is a really terrific opportunity for community-based organizations to expand opportunities for young people, partnering with other groups, with schools, of course, with families. And what I wanted to do is share with you what Zelda just said. These federal funds require that you have an evidence base for what you're doing. And one starting point is do a really good survey or study of what are the needs of the young people and families in your area and opportunities. But also after doing that, then we've learned a great deal from research and studies of what makes after school and summer programs work. And I'm going to share some of it with you. Some of you I know, when you hear the word research evidence, you probably get goosebumps or maybe worse. But actually, we've learned a lot about how to make after school and summer programs well designed and well delivered. And these lessons learned, in a sense, from the research, hopefully will be used by you in some or all to make your programs better, or if you're starting up a new program or a new site, design those programs and develop those programs with what we learned in mind. For example, we know that from research and studies, and particularly now because of the COVID disruption, there's really 4 areas in which after school and summer programs can really help young people catch up and keep up, help families, help young people keep out of trouble. And that is we know how to, with after school and summer programs well designed, we know how to re-engage students through interesting and motivational learning. We also know that many young people fell behind in reading and math and many other areas during COVID. But if the programs are well designed and delivered, they can actually help young people deal with unfinished learning and also get a chance to perhaps taste of what a college is like, or a career or workplace, using digital badges, something Zelda's group, After School Alliance, are experts with, and a number of institutions or programs in South Carolina use them. It's a good way to motivate young people. And really important these times because of the COVID isolation in some cases. Really good summer and after school programs connect young people to community groups and mentors, tutors, careers in colleges. So it really broadens their horizons of what they can do and to be successful. And as we know, idle hands isn't always a good thing, and often is not, particularly for teenagers. So by engaging young people in interesting, engaging summer and after school opportunities can really help them not only grow, but also keep them out of trouble. And this is so important for parents. So many parents can't work enough hours to have insurance and other benefits unless their young people are supervised after school and summer. So you are really in a good space, an important space. And let me go on with to share a few other items from the research, if you can continue on with the slides. A very important report was issued a few months ago. It's called the Evidence Base for Summer Enrichment and Comprehensive After School. And if you look on the screen, and I'm sure you'll have the information available later, this evidence-based report can be accessed. And it's very important to look at it because the source of funding here, GEARS and the American Rescue Plan and other programs too, childcare. Sorry, I misspelled childcare. I always had trouble with spelling, so forgive me. Reading Recovery and other local funds. This report is a little heavy. I helped write it with one of the best researchers in America, but what we summarize, go on to the next slide, is we summarize in the report, and I'm just going to go over a couple highlights now because I want you to know if you do a good job, you actually do make a difference. One of the premier groups in America that looks at research in all kinds of areas is the National Academies of Sciences. And what they found after they looked at all the research and evaluations on summers, they found that they can really contribute to young people's well-being in academic learning, social emotional development, physical and mental health, and safety. And interestingly, these findings were found just before COVID erupted. So you can imagine now how well-designed summer programs can even address these areas more. Go on to the next slide, please. Just as we have evidence about impact of summer programs, we also have impact evidence for high quality after school programs. And they can in fact help accelerate student achievement and development. This study shows the percentile difference for young people who participated in quality, well-designed programs versus not well-designed programs. And what's exciting here is that these gains were in many areas, from improved attendance, more positive social behaviors, reduction in behaviors, excuse me, better school grades and test scores. And these programs weren't necessarily straight on academic. These are well balanced programs where young people got to participate in many activities, work together cooperatively, work on projects. And this isn't one study. This is actually called a meta-analysis. It's a studies of studies. The results here are actually from 40 studies, the average results from 40 studies of well-designed programs. Next slide, please. In addition, another way to look at research is what happens to young people over time. Yes, some students are way behind, some do well, but what happens after they experience after-school programs over a number of years? This particular study happens to deal with sort of elementary age students. We have other studies for middle and high school students, but what's exciting here is that if you go from left to right, the far right are students who participated in a lot of after-school activities during these years, K through 5. The left is low participation. And what we find is that low-income students, and other studies find this for struggling students, the more they participated, the bigger the gains. And middle-income students and average students, they gained too. So they weren't pulled down, they were pulled up too. And high-income students and high-achieving students who already were doing well did even better. This is, like I would say, the trifecta of research. It's rare that you find interventions where the kids who need it the most make the biggest gains, and kids who are doing well actually make progress too. They're not pulled down. So this is very exciting. So we have evidence in summer and after school, well-designed programs make a difference. Next slide, please. Now, these 5 little bullets here, you might say, why are they important? Well, what Dr. Deborah Vandell, who did the study with me, and Dean Pedro Noguera, which is one of the leading educators in America. He's the Dean of Education at the other USC, the West Coast USC. What they found when they looked at all the research and evaluation on successful programs, they found these 5 components are often present, and they obviously need to be designed to be age appropriate. But the exciting part is that any summer or after school program should try to include this as a core of their activities. Active hands-on learning experiences and discovery. Not doing more of the same longer. That's in after school, that's not going to get you anywhere. Use team building skills so young people learn how to work together and resolve their differences in a equal fashion. Encourage youth ownership in making learning relevant. As students get, or young people get older, this becomes more important, but even younger students, you want the young people in your programs to think, aha, I want to be here, and encourage them to share with you what they would like to do, what they're interested in doing, and help shape your programs around that. The reason this is so important is that what we find in research also is that attendance matters. If your program is boring and unengaging and young people don't attend, it won't make much difference. It has to be engaging, encouraging, and one way to do that is help young people have ownership. Now, this 4th bullet is very important in learning in general, whether it's in a school day or after school or summer, in a school or community group. it's very important to help support mastery. What do I mean by that? What I mean is give young people a chance to pick something to work on. And over the summer or after school program, help them have a set of activities or experiences where they get better at it. It could be reading, but reading in a different way, perhaps in the school day. It could be playing a guitar. It could be learning coding. It could be learning a new dance move. By the way, Zelda can dance really well. We kind of blew people away on the dance floor a few years ago, but that's a side story. But what this happens when young people get involved in something they're interested in and do better at it, it multiplies in other areas, and they feel like they want to be part of this, and encourage learning new skills, not just the same old thing. And it can be from somebody in the neighborhood, a local artist. Somebody learns how to weld something. If you're in a rural area, some of the equipment that people operate on farms these days are $1 million pieces of equipment with $1 million of computers on them. Even learning how to manage a small business, all those things, entrepreneurial skills. Give young people a chance to explore these areas and work with someone who's good at it. And it really makes a difference. And that's how you make your programs evidence-based. Next slide, please. What we often think about is after school and summer programs are mainly for younger people. And they're very, very important for younger people, K through 5. But actually, we're finding the biggest expansion in summer and after school programs across America now is in the middle grades and even early high school age students. And I know part of the interest in this is to keep young people busy, keep them out of getting in trouble, help them not get into juvenile justice programs. And to do that, the young people have to feel they're part of something and they're going somewhere. So these are some ideas of what middle and high school programs might think about offering. Provide summer youth employment and internships, maybe you even use older youth to work with younger children in a summer or after school program. Youth apprenticeships and entrepreneurships are very important. It really shows young people, hey, they can do something and work with somebody. Many young people who are struggling a little bit don't see themselves either finishing high school or going beyond. There's no reason we can't offer credits for after school and summer programs, maybe working with a technical school or a community college, or even a nearby 2 or 4 year college. That really gives young people hope, and it sends them on a new trajectory. Many young people, as you well know, have never seen a college campus or never experienced a modern workplace. After school and summer programs are a great place to visit programs and have people come and visit your program, but you need to provide transportation. Service learning, there's probably a whole other source of funding here that we aren't going to get into, but there's great interest in having young people in middle and high school age groups work with others in the community and serve them and learn from that. And that can be part of your program. Last two quickly, many young people do participate in after school programs and maybe even the summer in extracurricular activities, clubs, sports, music, whatever. But many, many students don't. What kind of opportunities or experiences can you offer that would connect young people who aren't in those activities and keep them engaged? And finally, as we mentioned earlier, earning digital badges for developing certain skills is a great way for young people to work on something and feel like they're accomplished something and keep going. So that is a quick overview of probably 1,000 studies in research on summer and after school learning that Dr. Deborah Vandell and I have reviewed over the many years. And some of you have been involved in this say, hey, I don't need Peterson to tell me that. I know that already. So that's cool. Please do it all. And if any of us can help you, please let us know.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. That was some great information. I tried to do, I couldn't have done half of the job as you have. So I'm glad that you were able to come on and share that information. And there may be some questions for Dr. Peterson. I think we have maybe a couple more minutes if there are any other questions.
Okay, I'll pick
Thank
back
you,
up.
Dr. Peterson.
Apologies. We'll pick back up with some of the questions that have come in. If you do not apply and/or do not receive funding for year 1, can you apply for 2 and 3?
As Zelda mentioned earlier in the conversation, there may be an opportunity for an RFP to be released in years 2 and 3. But at this moment, we can't say that definitively you'll have that opportunity to apply if you aren't successful with this grant initiative.
Here's an excellent question. Can you review the role of or importance of community partners?
Community partners enhance your initiatives because you're leveraging all of your community's resources when you're sharing resources with each other. We're looking to expand and enhance community offerings to support young people in their academic success. So it's beneficial to look around your community to see who is doing what. There may be an organization that is doing some service learning projects that you might partner with. You may not have to expend your dollars or your people resources to figure out that component and how to incorporate it in your initiative. So it's very valuable. And one of the questions in the grant application is, how are you collaborating with your local school district to ensure the success of the youth that you're going to serve? So collaboration is always key in every initiative that you do, and especially when it comes to building on communities' assets and resources that you're going to leverage to equitably expand programming for young people.
Thank you so much, Michelle. This has come in after Dr. Peterson's presentation. I would like some more information on the funding Dr. Peterson mentioned for service learning programs. Our teams serve a minimum of 8 hours each month.
We'll ask Dr. Peters maybe to share that, and we might be able to drop it in the resource section of the grant webpage.
I think that would be excellent. Great. And just a couple of more. I'm just going to mention this one, but it says, do you have to be a nonprofit?
In the conversation earlier on the slide, Zelda, could you go back to that slide? Is that possible? I think it was in your presentation on who's eligible, just so we can remind our viewers and participants about who's eligible. There we go. Community-based organizations and groups, faith-based organizations, sites located in communities with no current programs receiving government funds through 21st century communities, parks and recreation centers, and nonprofits are all eligible to apply.
Excellent.
Thank you, Zelda.
And I just want to say that if anyone has any more questions, we are down to the last two, which are actually tied together. So if you could go ahead and put those in the chat, that would be very helpful. Michelle and Zelda, the following questions, and we've already addressed this. This is in regard to the PowerPoint. Some persons have requested the possibility of the PowerPoint being made available today so that they can go ahead and utilize that as soon as possible. Is that a possibility for posting it or having it uploaded today?
I'm going to defer that answer to Zelda.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I can definitely do it. If you have it, I can
Yeah.
post
Okay,
it.
that's fine.
Okay, wonderful. So there you are. That will be posted for you today, so you all can have access to work on it now and enjoy your holiday. And then the last question, yes, if it's made available today, you will be able to print it as soon as it's up.
Okay.
That concludes the questions and answers that have been presented at this time.
Thank you, Kimberly, for your assistance with this session.
My pleasure.
With this section. We have had an awesome afternoon of panelists sharing and questions from participants. We've just about used all of our 90-minute time frame. So I'm going to turn it back over to Zelda.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you all for joining us. I know that we're coming to the holidays, coming up on the holidays, and I know you're very busy. So we appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. I also want to thank on behalf of the South Carolina After School Alliance Board and our staff, I want to thank our presenters this morning or this afternoon now. Our presenters, we greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate Dr. David Mathis for joining us, Director Hendrick for joining us. Someone mentioned the importance of partnerships. That's the importance of partnerships. Partnerships provide a plethora of resources, which could be financial to contributions to services. So partnerships are very important, and we value our partnerships with the Department of Education, Department of Juvenile Justice, and the Governor's Office. So thank you all very much. Thank you to the staff for putting this together and supporting this effort. If you need to contact any of us, please do so. Michelle Nimmons is the point person. She's the Director of Grants and Contracts, and she is happy to assist you, and any of us are happy to assist you. Thank you, and have a wonderful day, and have a blessed holiday. You are welcome. Thank you all. Happy holidays.